أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. So we start this series inshallah with the goal of learning, understanding and familiarizing ourselves with the Qur'an, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we believe, of course, as Muslims, the Qur'an is the final revelation from Allah to mankind and the only book that remains preserved in its original form. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. Verily we have sent down the reminder, i.e. the Qur'an, and we will indeed protect it from any type of corruption. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised the preservation of the Qur'an and that no corruption, changes or alterations will enter it. And Allah indeed preserved the Qur'an in two ways. It's preserved in the hearts of all of those who memorize the Qur'an, those that we call huffaz. And as we know, from the era of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from his generation, those that lived with him, there were many that memorized the Qur'an. And in each generation following them, the number of people who memorized the Qur'an continued to increase and grow. So in every generation, since the time of the revelation of the Qur'an, there have been multitudes of people who have the entire Qur'an memorized. This, of course, protects it from being changed, lost, or corrupted in any way. And the other way that the Qur'an is preserved is in the text as well. When we look at the oldest manuscripts that we have today of the Qur'an, we see that indeed the Qur'an has not changed at all. And there has been studies done even by non-Muslims, and they've taken manuscripts from every period of time, and they've come to the conclusion that the Qur'an has not changed and it hasn't been altered since the beginning. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises the preservation of the Qur'an. As Muslims, we have to believe that the Qur'an benefits us in every stage of our existence. It benefits us firstly here in this world. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ هُدًى وَشِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah says, and we reveal in this Qur'an that which is a huda, a guidance. So the Qur'an is the source, the primary source of guidance and the primary source of legislation for the Muslims. Hudan wa shifa. Shifa, which means that it's also a cure. In the Qur'an is a cure, both a spiritual cure from the ailments of the heart and the desires and the doubts and anything that leads us astray, as well as a physical cure, which the Qur'an can be used for as well. So that's how the Qur'an benefits us in this life. It guides us and it cures us, both spiritually and physically. In the grave, the next stage of our existence, as we know, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us that our deeds will come to us in our grave. A person, after they are buried, will be approached by a man who has a beautiful face, and he will say, "Who are you? I don't recognize you." And that man will say, "I am your good deeds. I've come to keep you company in your grave." So in the grave, that which we learn and recite and read from the Qur'an will benefit us in the form of good deeds and bringing light to the darkness of the grave. On the Day of Judgment, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that when a person is resurrected, one of the first things that will meet him will be the Qur'an, which will come to say, "You remained thirsty with me on hot days, and you stayed awake reciting me during those long nights. So now I've come to protect you on this day." Also, it's been authentically reported that Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Baqarah, and Ali Imran will come and they will testify on behalf of the person that used to recite them and understand them. So the Qur'an will testify for us on the Day of Judgment. And finally, when we enter Jannah, inshaAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all of them. When we enter Jannah, it will be said, recite what you know from the Qur'an. And the person's level in Jannah will continue to increase until the last of that which they recite. So we see that the Qur'an in every stage of our existence, in this life, in the grave, on the day of judgment, and even while we're entering Jannah, the Qur'an will benefit us. So with that, inshallah, we begin by starting to learn and understand the Qur'an, and we're going to start with the chapters that we recite the most. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us success.